Okay, this video is going to recap how to factor. Okay, so here we go. It's the same thing we've been doing. Let's just make sure that you're good on these skills. Okay, so the first thing you do is you fill in the x squared, okay, and the constant boxes. Okay, so I'm gonna say the words and then do it here. So the x squared box, the 3x squared goes in the top left corner. And then the constant would be -5. Okay, so that's step one. Now, we have to calculate the multiply number. Okay, by multiplying the leading coefficient, okay, and the constant. There's a couple of ways you could get this. Some people like to just multiply these two numbers in these boxes and get -15. Okay, or you could look at the problem and multiply the first and the last, the leading coefficient with a constant, and you multiply those. Okay, so that's where you get the multiply number from. And then you state the add number, okay, and it is from the linear term. The linear term is the one with x. Okay, so here's the linear term. This is going to be the add number, -2. Okay, and now you find the two numbers that work. So this is like the numbers game. What two numbers multiply to a 15? Is it 15 and 1? Is it 3 and 5? They have to be two apart, so I think it's 3 and 5. Now how do you make a negative? Well, one of them has to be negative. If I put the negative here on the 3, 5 minus 3 doesn't work. I think I have to put the negative there. Do those numbers add to -2? You can use your calculator to check. Do they multiply to -15? Okay, so these are the two numbers that work. Put them in the linear boxes. Okay, and linear boxes means the x boxes. So one of the boxes gets 3x and one of them gets -5x. Don't forget the x's. We had the x squared. These are the x's, and that's the constant. Okay, now here's a very important step. We have to factor out the GCF, the greatest common factor, from one of the rows. You could do this any way you want. Would you like to look at this column here? Or do you like this row? Okay, do you like this row? I kind of like the looks of this one because when I look at these two, I know exactly what to take out. Or maybe you could look at this row. This one looks pretty easy. I notice they both have a 3 and an x. Okay, so you have to do the greatest common factor just one time. And then that starts the chain reaction. 3x times x would make 3x squared. 3x times 1 would multiply to make 3x. If that's a 1, how am I going to make a -5? 1 times -5. Do these two, check them to make sure they make that box. Okay, once you get your outsides, state the answer in factored form. Okay, don't forget your answer has to look like that. So my answer, okay, has to look like the product of two binomials. It doesn't matter where you put them. So one of my binomials is going to be x with a positive, a +1. And the other binomial is going to be 3x minus 5. Okay, and something that we could do to check, okay, what we could do to check is either just multiply this in our mind or write it down on the paper. So I would distribute the first two. That would make 3x squared. If I multiply these, that would make -5x. Distribute the 1, that would be +3x. And then the lasts would be -5. Do those add up and make the problem? Okay, and it does. Some people like to check by doing it how they multiplied binomials by making boxes. And they put x plus 1, and they put 3x minus 5, and then they multiply like that. However you want to multiply to check, okay? But don't forget your answer is the product of two binomials. Okay, that's the factored form right there. All right, we're going to try one more. We're going to get the multiply number by multiplying these two. 2 times -7 is -14. And then the add number comes from the middle term, negative 13. So what two numbers multiply to make a negative 14? Is it 7 and 2? I don't think 7 plus 2 makes a 13. Is it 14 times 1? The way that you make a negative is by one of these being negative, not both. If I put a negative on the 14, would that add to 13? Okay, so we found the numbers. So the first two boxes you're supposed to fill out, we know that the 2x squared goes in the first box, negative 7 goes in the last box, and what did we just figure out goes in the linear boxes? Negative 14x and 1x. Okay, now we got to look for one row, find the easiest row that you want to take the GCF out of. Maybe I'll look at this one right here. Okay, so I'll do GCF. It doesn't matter where you start. The chain reaction, everyone's going to get the same answers. I can take out an x. That's the common thing that they have. There's no number. So if that's x, this has to be 2x. If that's x, x times 1. If that's a 1, then this has to be negative 7 to make negative 7. And do these two make negative 14? We're good, okay? So where's the answer? The answer is going to be 2x plus 1 times x minus 7, okay? So I need you to take this technique, okay, go into your packet now, and try the page of practice using boxes. Okay, good luck.